Hi. We humans are a storytelling species. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, it was belief in shared myths that helped foster cooperation between tribes. And it was this ability that we had to cooperate with each other in such large numbers that helped us evolve as far as we have. Storytelling is literally in our DNA, and it's the reason we fucking love a good narrative arc. And why I didn't really like Detective Pikachu. And I wanted to. Now, storytelling isn't inherently good or bad, but if we're not aware of the stories we're telling ourselves, or if we're not aware that we're even telling ourselves stories at all, then I think we have a lot less control over our lives and potentially more importantly over our minds. So many of us grew up believing in multiple stories about ourselves that weren't necessarily rooted in reality because we'd been told them by our parents or other influential people in our lives, or we just sort of adopted them as a belief at a certain point and they kind of just became a part of us and we never got rid of them. For example, I grew up believing that I am not good at art because other kids were better than me and I naturally gravitated towards reading and writing. I didn't really have creative parents who encouraged me to do art. I didn't have a lot of good art supplies, stuff like that. So I adopted this narrative that I am not good at art. Because of that, it wasn't something I spent much time doing. I continued to believe my I am not good at art story throughout my life, and as a result, I am now 26 and I am not good at art. If I'd known as a 5-year-old that what makes someone good at art is the time you spend getting good at art, then I might have seen it differently and I might have pursued artistic things more and I would have got better and potentially would now even be good at art. But as a 5-year-old, I kind of just had this belief that artistic ability is intrinsic and you either have it or you don't, and so I never developed my talent in that area. So my belief that I am not good at art became this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Now at 26, I know that I can get good at art if I want to, but at this point it's just like, ugh. A lot of the stories that we come to believe growing up have a much bigger impact on our adult lives than my self-fulfilling art narrative. For example, some people are taught either directly or indirectly that they're not funny or they're not good or they're not smart, and these narratives don't just kind of dissolve one day, they stick with people for the most part and they influence them throughout their lives. A particularly common and harmful narrative that a lot of people hold about themselves is I am not worthy of love or I am unlovable. Most of the time it's not that someone has directly said those words to us, but that we have come to believe them by the way that we are treated in childhood. When children aren't loved by their parents in the way that they need to be loved, which I think is true for most of us because generally society doesn't really understand child psychology and parents are just regular people, and that's a whole other thing. But when children aren't loved in the way that they need to be loved in childhood, they subconsciously interpret that as I am not worthy of love or I am unlovable. This is a belief that a lot of people tend to carry with them for the rest of their lives. It's usually a subconscious belief that they have, or it's not fully acknowledged, but it affects every relationship they ever have, including with themselves. As you can imagine, this has an enormous impact. When we feel unlovable, we can't truly thrive. It's hard for us to connect deeply with others. It's hard for us to do things we really want to do that scare us, and all kinds of other stuff because we're so identified with this false narrative that we are unlovable. And sadly, our brains love to be certain more than they love to be loved, so they look for confirmation of this belief all the time. We project our story onto our relationships with other people, and like with my art narrative, it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. I know I've been in numerous relationships where I've been loved to the degree that was appropriate for the relationship, but because I didn't feel worthy of it or I didn't truly believe that I was lovable, I projected that insecurity onto the relationship and it was a shitstorm. And I feel like a lot of you can probably relate to that because it's a very common part of the modern human experience, maybe the human experience forever. And now we take a train break. I'm not going to work out right after this. I just hoped that wearing less clothes would get more views. Now that I no longer identify with this narrative that I am unlovable, my relationships are so much more fulfilling and stable and healthy and wonderful, and it's a night and day difference. It's wild. Negative narratives that we have about ourselves are so damaging because even though they're not rooted in reality, they do have the power to shape our perception of reality, and perception is reality, so in a sense, they're shaping our reality itself. I feel like I'm making a lot of eye contact with you in this video. Is it too intense? I can't tell. The good thing is, once you realize this, you can start to identify less with the stories you tell yourself. By becoming curious about them and recognizing that we all tell ourselves a bunch of made-up stories, you can create distance between yourself and your perceived identity and that story. So it's not something that is like an intrinsic part of you that influences your entire life and you can't escape from. You can then free yourselves from the ones that are doing you more harm than good. You can also choose to create more positive stories for yourself and create positive change in your life through doing that. Stories are so powerful. Message of this video. For example, I am currently trying not to identify too much with this narrative I have that I am not hardworking, and instead I'm trying to have the narrative that I am hardworking, but I need to feel passionate about the thing I'm working on for me to truly be my most creative, hardworking, blah 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 self. I hope this video got you thinking more about the stories you tell yourself, and I hope it will inspire you to kind of examine the beliefs that you hold about yourself, particularly the negative ones, so that you can shed them like Bernie and Banksy's winter coats. Oh my god, my house is a fur-filled hellscape right now, you have no idea. If you want to learn more about Homo sapiens' propensity for storytelling, I highly recommend the book Sapiens. If you've been following me and Tana for a while now, or just me, the trains. You will, one, know that we have trains outside our apartment and it's ruining our lives. But two, should I keep going? Sapiens is an incredible book that changed my life. It opened my eyes in a way that no other book ever has. It showed me so much about why I am the way that I am, why society is the way that it is. It seriously shattered so many false narratives I had about human existence and reality, and it is, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I'll link it in the description. It's by Yuval Noah Harari. If you click our link, then we will get a little Amazon affiliate amount of money given to us. Really articulating well in this video, Sam. You really should read it. Also, if you like this video, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We really want to be able to keep making videos and have more time and resources to put into them, which we don't really have right now because I have a full-time job. So we really rely on donations to be able to do what we do, and we appreciate all of our patrons so much. Thank you so much, the ones of you that are watching this. You guys are the best. This video is over now. You're lovable, you're capable of so much more than you know. I'm starting to sound like Tony Robbins.